Public School Board meeting for Monday, November 10th to order. I will note that we allow public access to our meetings. Members of the public can attend meetings in person. We also live stream meetings, and we also record meetings. So if someone isn't able to watch our meeting this evening, in particular because the Packers are playing, you're able to take a look at it tomorrow. Anyhow, we will move into the meeting roll call and verification of quorum.
Ms. Bushman is excused. Ms. Mercer? Here. Mr. Pope?
Here.
Mr. Liebrick?
Here.
Ms. Potter Nelson?
Here.
Mr. Lepak?
Here.
Mr. Kowalski?
Here.
Mr. Summers?
Here.
We have a quorum.
What about Ms. Erler?
Oh, Ms. Erler, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
here.
I just took it for granted.
Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move into our Mandana Bliss Award presentation. The Mandana Bliss Award is a symbol of our deep appreciation for the unwavering commitment and outstanding efforts demonstrated by our staff members for educational excellence in the Stevens Point Area Public School District. It is named in honor of Mandana Hale Bliss, Stevens Point's first school teacher and trailblazer, whose exceptional service and dedication continue to inspire us all. And I will turn it over to Corey.
Sure, thank you, Meg. So tonight, we get to honor one of our bus drivers at the Transportation Department. Her name is Lisa Flugrot, and I would describe her as our #1 cheerleader at the Transportation Department. She's always willing to do whatever is asked of her, and she's been an outstanding and consistent bus driver for many, many years. So with that, I'm going to ask Lisa to come forward, and I'm going to ask Lee Nowicki, the Transportation Manager, to say a few words about her. Congratulations, Lisa.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is with great respect and appreciation that I nominate Lisa for the Mandana Bliss Award. With 26 years of dedicated service as a school bus driver, Lisa has consistently demonstrated unwavering commitment to the students, staff, and our broader school community. Every morning and afternoon, she ensures our students travel safely, greeting each children with a smile, and treating them with the same care and respect she would her own family. Her calm presence, positive attitude, and genuine compassion make a lasting impression on her students and the parents alike. Beyond her daily routes, Lisa goes above and beyond in many ways. She has taken on an important role of a service coordinator for our summer bus washing program, ensuring that our fleet is clean, well-maintained, and ready for each school year. She coordinates this with efficiency, pride, modeling responsibility, and teamwork for others. Lisa is the definition of a team player, whether it's stepping in to assist a fellow driver, helping with logistics, or offering support wherever it's needed. Lisa is always willing to lend a hand. Her kindness, her reliability, and her work ethic set a high standard and is truly an invaluable part of our transportation department. Through her quiet leadership and years of devoted service, Lisa truly embodies the spirit of the Mandana Bliss Award. She exemplifies excellence in her work and compassion and her interactions, enriching the culture of our district every single day. Her dedication not only keeps our students safe and supported, but also strengthens the community that makes our schools thrive. Congratulations, Lisa.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I just love my job and my students, so.
Thank you very much for all you've done, Lisa. We're gonna have you take a picture with Lee and I in the front, and then we'll have you go around the table and each board member would like to congratulate you.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I remember being at Pipner with you.
I know, we were.
All right, at me, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll start right here. Thank you, Lee. We'll start.
Everything you do for
Yeah,
the kids.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Lisa.
Thanks.
Well deserved.
Yep.
Thank you
Thank you.
for the many years
Yep.
you've served us.
Thanks
so much. How
many
years have you been?
26 driving and a couple years of being an aide. So, yeah,
Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Thank you so much.
yep, thank you,
I have 3 kids who ride a bus, so thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations once again to Lisa.
Our next item will be public comments. Did we have anybody sign up for public comment? Do we receive any emails for public comments? All right, so we will then move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is our presentations. And we will be calling on Lily Meeks to give us the SPASH Student Senate Representative Report.
All right, good evening, folks. I hope everyone's Halloween weekend went well. I would like to start us off with that specific weekend and how big it was for SPASH. The Thursday before Halloween, our SPASH girls swim team took first place at conference and just competed at sectionals in Hudson this past weekend, taking second place. 5 swimmers, Claire Pilger, Kate Keon, sorry if I mispronounced that, Claire Lemke, Bella Hoff, and Jenna Barber will compete in the 200 medley relay, 400 freestyle relay, 500, just 50 freestyle, 100 free, 100 backstroke, and 200 IM at the state meet Saturday in Waukesha. Claire Pilger actually broke 2 records at sectionals and is now a school record holder as well. And I believe the state send-off is Thursday at 11 in Lower Commons at SPASH. I'm pretty sure that's right. The SPASH boys cross country team had their state meet on Thursday, Saturday the 1st as well. And for the 4th time in a row, they took first place. This is their program's 15th state championships. They definitely have a lot more to go. They're really good. Another great victory we had over the weekend, the holiday weekend, was our girls volleyball team. They won sectionals on November 1st, qualifying them for the state tournament. They put up an amazing fight against Divine Savior Holy Angels, but unfortunately did not take the win. The drama department had a wonderful performance and great attendance for their musical, The Addams Family, at shows last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Congratulations to the cast, crew, and live student orchestra for great performances. SPASH's winter sports are kicking it into gear. Believe it or not, today the season opens for girls basketball, girls and boys hockey, and gymnastics, with boys basketball, boys swimming, and girls and boys wrestling starting next week. As always, the music department is going to be very busy coming up, especially with the holidays right around the corner. The jazz classes are having a concert this Thursday at 7:30 in the SPASH auditorium. And our band is performing in the parade on November 20th downtown. Speaking of music, congratulations to SPASH students who performed in state honors programs this past month. Also, sorry if I pronounce anybody's names wrong here. Congratulations to Ian Colome and Alexander Christian for performing in the state honors band, and to Conan Obst, Keegan Obst, and Kiki Lays for performing in the State Honors Orchestra. And that will end the SPASH update for tonight. Thank you all for listening and have a wonderful November and Thanksgiving break.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you, Lily. All right, we will move into our communication report with Sarah.
Oh, I don't need that anymore. I need to break this thing every month.
But if I just do that.
Oh, thanks, Chris. I thought I fixed it.
Nope.
All right, jumping into our communications report for coverage in October. We have here just the litany of wonderful events that we were able to cover and participate in, and starting with homecoming up at SPASH, which feels like it was a really long time ago, through Bannock Bulldog Dash, Seussical Junior, presented by the Playhouse Theater Group. We got to see local apples in our lunchroom celebrate our National School Lunch Week. See some really adorable mini Palms cheerleaders with a bright future, celebrating our Mandana Bliss Awards, all the way down to Dance Party Thursdays for 4K with t-shirts made by the teacher. They wear them every Thursday and have a dance party. So I mean, it was just a really great month.
I don't know
Looking
who's
at our
doing it at this
website
point
and
now.
digital engagement. As we've been talking about for that website, what we have seen since launching is a significant decrease in total views when we look year over year. So remember, we're not looking month over month. I really want to compare year over year. And I was pretty sure that that was going to maintain kind of that downward lower trend throughout the year. And October surprised me. We were up 10% in views year over year. So we're just going to keep monitoring and see what that does. Always glad to see those numbers go up, but kind of shoots my theory right in the foot. So engagement was also continuing to be up. We're up to that 7-minute mark, which doesn't seem like a lot, but is quite high. You can see that's a pretty big jump over what we were measuring on the previous website last year, and our key event count continues to be really high. So folks are finding and downloading and engaging with content that we want them to and hope for them to. Our top 3 most visited pages, no surprises there, district homepage, resources for staff, the SPASH homepage, and then I threw in 4 and 5 just because I'm really proud of that boys cross country team, was both boys cross country and their schedule. Website audits are complete. We are a little bit ahead of schedule for that. Very excited to see that. We'll continue to work with schools as we work on our Title II digital engagement work, making sure that we're compliant by April. And that was really the purpose of those audits. So we're ahead of schedule, looking good there. Media coverage for October was very good. We saw coverage from hosting digital safety, our digital safety and engagement, some school bus safety pieces, certainly sports coverage, and then some really nice coverage for that brand new playground over at McDill. Looking at our social media engagement, we were up overall throughout the month, which is good to see. Impressions were up 12.5% month over month, and engagement was up 9.8% month over month. And we expect to see good impressions and engagement for November as well. Our most engaged post of the month was Mr. Ben Troyer being named Mr. Spash, community favorite. And then looking ahead, this continues to be what we're looking at covering for this first semester. We're working on that mid-year update, which again will go out in January, continuing to tell stories along that engagement and recognition of that Believe, Belong, Become theme, our points of pride, Mandana Bliss, continuing to build that internal capacity and support around the digital accessibility work that needs to get done, as well as just building capacity overall for communications in our clerical and administrative communication. And then continuing to work on those campaigns, our enrollment with segmentation, which we'll get to talk more about tonight, budget awareness and communication, implementation of our new messaging system, which went very well, as did our tests this last month. So we know that that system is up and working, should we need it with some snow. And then state report card information will be released tomorrow. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Sarah? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, we'll move into Corey's superintendent's report.
Thank you, Meg. Next week is American Education Week, so I'd like to take just a few minutes to recognize our wonderful staff for their dedication and hard work. I appreciate all that they do every single day on behalf of students. I believe we have an outstanding staff. We really, really do, and they work very, very hard every day and are committed to our students, and I appreciate each and every one of them very much. Next, I just wanted to publicly say congratulations to the boys cross country team for winning their 4th state championship, along with Coach Benke and Kevin Hopp. Congratulations to the state girls volleyball team who made it to state, as well as Coach Mack. We had a SPASH debate team that has done well recently. They were at the West Bend Challenge, and Akiva Lyon and Mila Sankey went 3-0 in their very first challenge. William Krusky took 2nd as an individual speaker, and Ben Schauer took 1st place as an individual speaker. So thank you to those students and their coach, Scott Ahern. We recently learned that we were the recipient of a $200,000 grant from the United States Tennis Association for their venue services grant. That is to enhance our lighting at the Spash tennis courts. So great job to the tennis coach and Dave Hauser for their work in submitting that grant. Polar Pond Plunge is December 13th from 10 o'clock until noon. I know Carla is looking for jumpers, so any board members that are interested in jumping, Jim Lepeck.
I got a clause in my contract about doing dangerous activities.
Just let Carla know if you're interested in participating in that. Recently, we received some donations from individuals for the Money for Meals program, which has been very beneficial to families. We received a $500 donation from Rosalie Simone. We received a $1,000 donation from Justin Asquith. And the Peace United Church of Christ donated $717.50. Additionally, the James and Martha Shoe Fund donated $3,824.61 for general use at Kennedy Elementary School. So once again, we've got a lot of community support for our schools and for programs that help to support students. So thank you very much. Board members, just an update, as well as anyone in the community who might be interested in having their name on the ballot for the April election. If you are interested, you must submit paperwork by December 1 through January 6th. Any board members that are up for election that might not be interested in running, there is non-candidacy paperwork that must be filled out by December 26th. If we need a primary, that will happen on February 17th, and then the spring election is on April 7th. Then I just wanted to mention Spash families, soon you will be getting a message from Spash regarding an enhanced safety practice called Securely Pass. This is going to be implemented with students to improve building security and to streamline school services, and will also accelerate some cafeteria checkout. Next, parent-teacher conferences start tomorrow. So we have evening conferences at our high school tomorrow from 4 to 8. We have conferences in the evening on the 13th at our junior highs. On the 17th, there is no school. There's conferences from 11 o'clock until 7 o'clock. And then on the 20th, we have the elementary evening conferences from 4 to 8. And lastly, just a reminder that Thanksgiving is soon going to be here, and that break happens from November 26th to November 28th.
Board members have any questions for Corey?
Corey, remind me for board candidacy next year, will there be 8 candidates allowed on the?
So there will be 4 open seats. So if we get one more than half of the open seats, so 9, we'll need a primary. And then the one who gets the lowest number of votes will have a 1-year term and will be on the ballot the following year.
So the person who gets the 4th lowest votes.
What'd I say?
You said the lowest
Oh,
votes.
the 4th, yeah. The lowest out of the 4.
Lowest out of the 4, yeah.
Can we get the dates for parent-teacher conferences sent to us or something?
Absolutely.
You said them, but I didn't get a chance to write them down.
Yeah, I'll do that.
17th and the 20th for elementary.
You said tomorrow.
For
Starts for.
elementary are the 17th and the 20th. Those are-
If we could just get them
Yeah,
sent.
we can
I'll send them all to you, G.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Yep, thanks.
All right, we will move into item D, which is Community Change and Projections Report, MD Roffers Consulting.
Sure, so I'm gonna welcome Nick Johnson. Nick works for MD Roffers. If you recall, the board supported our decision to have MD Roffers do some extensive work regarding enrollment and projections for now going up to year 2040. So Nick is here tonight. Unfortunately, Mark was not able to be here. He is vacationing with his family tonight.
He might be in the air currently.
In the air, okay. Hopefully he's in the air.
I hope so, right, yes.
So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Nick to share his findings.
Great. Well, thank you for that introduction, Corey. Again, I'm Nick Johnson, a planner and project manager with MD Roffers Consulting. oh, this just worked. There we go, okay. So about MD Woffers Consulting, so we are an urban planning firm. We're based in Madison, but we work with clients all over the state of Wisconsin. About half of the work that we do is your typical urban planning work. So we're the planners for about half a dozen municipalities across the state. We help them with zoning, code updates, subdivision plat review, development review, long-range comprehensive planning for the municipality. That's half of the work that we do. The other half of the work that we do is working with school districts and helping them with enrollment projections and also with long-range facility planning. We have projected enrollment for almost 50 Wisconsin school districts, including the nearby Wausau School District. We had a very long project with them last year, and I think even a little bit the year before. But other similar school districts like La Crosse as well as River Falls. Our methodology isn't just about growing existing kids up. We do that, but we also look at housing and neighborhood trends, housing characteristics, housing age, home sales, demographic change, births, all sorts of other data that we'll get into today. An outline of my presentation. First, I'll go over recent trends in your district. This will include enrollment trends, but also housing trends and demographic trends. I'll do a brief overview of our methodology. Then I'll get into our projections. I'll start with our housing projections, then get into our enrollment projections, compare those projections to the current school capacities of your school buildings, and then wrap this up, what this all means for you all. You know, you're presented with these enrollment projections, so what do they exactly mean? This is a summary of our significantly more detailed report that I think you all have in front of you. So recent trends in the Stevens Point Area Public School District. Enrollment decreased by about 320 students, or about 4% over the past decade. With that decrease mainly concentrated in your lower grade groups, your 4K as well as your elementary grade groups. That's mainly attributed to fewer babies being born, particularly over the last decade, as well as slight increases in open enrollment out as well as private school enrollment. Drilling down further, open enrollment out increased, but has stabilized over the past few years. Open enrollment in, that's that green line that you see on that graph, that has also slightly increased at a lower magnitude and also has remained pretty stable over the last 3 or 4 academic years. Private school enrollment in the district also increased, but similar to open enrollment has remained very stable over the last few years. Enrollment at the 8 private schools operating in the district increased by about 100 students over the last decade. That increase was mostly concentrated at the beginning of this decade, really pretty much due to the pandemic, and most public schools having either hybrid or online learning environments, and most private schools had in-person learning environments. Since the 2022 academic year, the last 3 years, private school enrollment has remained stable. This graph shows births in the Stevens Point Area Public School District over the last 24 years. So 2000 is in the leftmost part of the graph, 2024 is in the rightmost part of the graph. The first half of that graph, in the 2000s decade, there were generally stable births in the district. Births then decreased from about 618 in 2010 to about 451 in 2023. That has directly translated to your recent 4K and elementary enrollment decreases. The district is not alone. Almost every school district in the state is experiencing decreasing births. We have seen a slight increase from 2023 to 2024 in births, which we attribute to a slight increase in the reproductive age population that we've seen over the last decade. This is one of the many specific age cohorts that we look at in every school district project we work in. We look at the population aged 25 to 44. So this age cohort is the main generator of babies and future children in your schools. The median age in the district did increase from about 33 years old in 2010 to about 35 years old in 2020, mainly due to a very large increase in your senior aged population. Still, that reproductive age population increased slightly by about 380 students. That might help stabilize births, and we think it will over the next few years, with declining births after, more to come. There has also been a recent increase in housing development, really in response to a regional housing shortage. Over the past decade, we saw about 2,400 new housing units built in the district. That increased from about an average of 210 in the late 2010s to an average of about 270 new housing units per year at the beginning half of this decade. And the type of housing that's being built really matters for student generation. Typically, what we see in school districts, as well as here in the Stevens Point School District, is brand new single-family homes generate the most students for a school district. Brand new apartments generate the fewest students for a school district. Looking at student generation from brand new single-family homes, we looked at two methods to determine how this type of housing was generating students in the district. One was a survey that we sent out to addresses of newly built homes that were built over the past 5 years. And then the second was an in-house analysis where we did an analysis looking at all of the student addresses in the Stevens Point Area School District, comparing that to the addresses of homes that were sold in the district over the last 5 years. Addresses of homes that were built in the district over the last 5 years. Those two analyses provided very similar results, showing that each new single-family home generates about 0.5 students for a school district. So you need about 2 new single-family homes to generate 1 student for your school district, a lot lower than what the public perception is. And I would say that this average of about 0.5 per unit is on the higher end for some of our more urban school districts like the Stevens Point School District. Looking at other types of housing, denser types of housing, we have duplexes. They generate about an average of 0.25 students per unit for each new duplex. New townhome style multiple family apartments generate about 0.08 students per unit. This is in the second image in the far right side of the screen that you see there. This type of housing is often larger, often has more bedrooms, often has a private entrance, a private garage, tends to produce students at higher rates than do new apartments that are shown in the bottom image there, that have smaller units, often have fewer bedrooms, shared entrances and parking. That's Lake Park Apartments in Plover. That type of housing generates students at about 0.02 rate. So you need about 50 of those to generate 1 student, compared to about 2 single-family homes to generate 1 student. Looking at existing single-family homes, we also did an analysis looking at how home sales of existing homes, so not new homes, but homes that are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, how the home sales of that type of housing are generating students. The results range from about 0.3 to 0.5 student per home sale. So again, about every 2 to 3 existing home sales are generating a student for the district. So the end takeaway here, the end lesson is that strong home building as well as strong home sales really help with student generation. We also looked at multiple demographic and housing factors across your entire district. More to come in the methodology section that's next. But which of those specific demographic and housing factors were the most positively impactful on student enrollment and student generation? The 3 that most stuck out of about the dozen or so that we analyzed were higher household incomes, so median household incomes greater than $80,000 per year. Going off that home sales data that I just talked about, neighborhoods that had significant percentages of their homes sold over the past 5 years generated greater numbers of students. And then also newer homes that were built in the 1990s and later. These tend to be larger, tend to have more bedrooms, tend to also have more modern amenities like ensuite bathrooms, walk-in closets versus homes that were built before the 1990s. This is, I think, map 6B from our report showing our existing single-family home sales across the district, where we mapped the concentrations of home sales that have been occurring from 2020 to 2024. And over the past 5 years in the county, the number of home sales has decreased. A lot of that is due to rising interest rates and folks kind of feeling stuck within the housing market. That trend did not actually hold place here in the Stevens Point Area School District, where we saw home sales increase over the last year from 2023 to 2024. Geographically, home sales are particularly focused near a few of your schools, particularly Roosevelt, Jefferson, Washington, McKinley, and Madison elementary schools. Looking at student generation from existing denser housing types, so existing apartments, existing duplexes that are greater than 10 years old, they tend to generate students at a bit greater rates than new apartments or new duplexes. They often tend to be cheaper and they often tend to be larger than the new product coming online. Older existing duplexes generate about 0.33 students per unit, and existing and older apartments generate students at about 0.16 students per unit in the district. So getting into our methodology, it's Appendix A in our report. It's probably several pages long. I'll go into significantly less detail than in the report. But we divided the district into 90 specific neighborhoods. You have quite an expansive district, so we have a lot more neighborhoods than what we typically do in some of our projects. These were based on attendance areas for your elementary schools, for your junior high schools, major roads, other major geographic factors. For each of those 90 neighborhoods, we then determined the number of housing units that are in each neighborhood as of June when we began this project. In step 3, using student address data that was supplied by the district, we were able to geocode, which is basically placing all of the students within your school district in one of those 90 neighborhoods. Then with the housing units and the number of students, we calculate what we call our student per housing unit ratio. If there's 50 students in a neighborhood and 100 housing units, that neighborhood is generating students at a 0.5 ratio. Step 4 is looking at demographics, existing housing characteristics, as well as future housing expectations within each of the 90 neighborhoods. Step 5, we projected our housing units for our 4 projection periods, 2027, 2030, 2035, and 2040. Step 6 is then looking at those major factors that have an impact on enrollment here in the Stevens Point School District, so those major demographic as well as housing factors. Then we projected our student per housing unit ratio, so how we anticipate the housing in that neighborhood generating students based on its characteristics and based on its existing housing and demographics, as well as any new housing we project in that neighborhood. Step 8 is multiplying our projected units by our projected student per housing unit ratios. That gives us our resident enrollment projections. Step 9 is just shifting some of those resident students around. We know that there are students that live in some neighborhoods but attend Point of Discovery or Charles Fernandez. They might attend the Online Learning Center. They might intra-district transfer. Perhaps they live in the Roosevelt attendance area, but they attend Clover Whiting. And then the last step is including your open enrollment in students, keeping that number constant from the figure as of the last academic year when we began this project. Getting into our actual projections, starting with our housing projections. We project just over 3,800 new housing units in your district by 2040, an average of about 250 or so new housing units per year, greater than what we saw over the past decade, but generally tracks with what we've been seeing over the last few years since 2020. The vast majority of new housing, not surprisingly, we project will be located in 2 of your most populous municipalities, the city of Stevens Point and the village of Clover. We project 2 out of every 3 new units will be a duplex or a multiple family unit of some type, which, as we know, generates students at quite lower rates than do new single family homes. Looking at the city of Stevens Point specifically, we project 1,700 new housing units in the city by 2040, an average of about 116 new units per year, again, greater than what we saw in the city over the past decade, but does reflect what we've been seeing over the last few years. We project 1 out of every 5 of those new units in the city will be a single family home, and then 4 out of 5 will be a duplex or a multiple family unit. And while that percentage of single family is very low, there were very few new single family homes built in the city over the last decade. Almost all of your recent single family development has occurred in the village of Clover. We project new single family homes to really be concentrated in eastern growth areas of the city of Stevens Point. Multiple family there as well, but also projected in and near downtown, where you've already recently had quite a bit of new apartments and new multiple family being built. The Highway 66 corridor, as well as along Maria Drive. Looking at the village of Plover, we project 1,500 new units in the village by 2040, about 100 per year, very similar to what we've seen over the past decade. We project quite a bit more single-family development in Plover, with just under half of that total new housing units coming in the form of a single-family home, and then the remainder being duplex and multiple family units. The vast majority of new housing in Plover, geographically, we expect will be east of Interstate 39, where a lot of recent development has occurred over the past few years in Plover. Looking at some of your other communities, we only really project, more significant housing development to occur in the towns of Hull and Stockton. Each projected to have about 100 to 125 new single-family homes through 2040. These two towns are located east and north of Stevens Point and Plover. They're close to the existing development, the existing urban area, jobs, highways. They generally have plans that are supportive of new housing development as well. Many of your other communities in your district, we do not project as many new housing units there. Most of those are either smaller towns, smaller communities in western or northern parts of your district, or they're towns that have generally farmland preservation policies where it's very difficult to build new housing in those communities. Looking at the total housing units projected by your 9 current elementary school attendance areas. So these are housing unit projections, not enrollment projections, but they do kind of set the stage for what you're going to see for enrollment projections. About 1 out of every 3 new housing units we project in your district will occur in the current Plover-Whiting attendance area. Not surprising, that's where the village of Plover is anticipating its major growth area for the next decade or two. 20% we expect will be in the current Madison area and 17% in the current Bannock attendance area. Looking at single-family homes, we know single-family homes are the greatest generator of students, that housing type in the Stevens Point area school district. We project just under half of every new single-family home in the district through 2040 will be in the current Plover-Whiting attendance area, about a third in the Bannock attendance area, so about 75% of all of your new single-family homes will be in those 2 attendance areas. Not surprising, they are the eastern 2 attendance areas in your district. Now actually getting into our enrollment projections. I know that was a lot of information beforehand, but it certainly sets the stage and is all of the information that we analyzed and calculated as part of our enrollment projections. By 2040, we do project a decrease of about 470 students in the Stevens Point area public school district, about 30 fewer or so students per year on average. The average over the past couple of years has actually been about 50 to 60 students decrease over the last 2 or 3 academic years, so more of a moderate decrease that we project through 2040. But still continuing decreasing household sizes. A large percentage of the housing we expect will be multiple family housing, as well as somewhat declining birth rates, especially in the 2030s that we'll get into in a couple slides. That projected enrollment decrease is moderated. It is less of a percentage and a number than what we projected in several of our other more urban school districts and larger school districts, because there are a few things that are unique to Stevens Point that we haven't seen in those other areas. Like that recent increase in the reproductive age population. We project the stabilization of births through the rest of this decade. The healthy job growth, particularly in Stevens Point, also being home to UW Stevens Point certainly helps. And then the significant housing construction that we project through 2040. Our model has many inputs, including the demographic inputs, home sales, housing characteristics, but also students generated from new housing. So we're able to, in our model, just take all the new housing out of our model, and therefore all of the students that are generated from new housing in our model. So under that no new housing scenario, our model would project an enrollment decrease of about 1,200 students in the district by 2040. Our birth projections are shown here on the screen. We expect births to stabilize at around that 500 mark level due to that increase in reproductive age population. which is currently the very large millennial generation. There's about 75 million millennials in the United States. We expect them to continue having children through the rest of this decade. Then they will begin to exit their reproductive years. They will begin to enter their late 40s. And then the main generator of births through the 2030s will be the Generation Z generation, which is quite a bit smaller. They have, I think, 68 million members in the United States. So there will just be fewer people of reproductive age in the 2030s than currently. Looking at the elementary projections, we project a decrease of about 200 elementary school students by 2040, with decreasing enrollment projected at most of the elementary schools, the greatest at Madison, McKinley, and Roosevelt. We do project generally stable enrollment at Washington and Bannock. And then we do project a pretty significant enrollment increase at Plover Whiting Elementary School. You'll remember we project about 1,200 new housing units in that current attendance area, of which about 600 will be new single-family homes. There will be a significant greater amount of housing in that attendance area in 2040 than there currently is today. For the junior high schools, we project a decrease of about 126 students through 2040, and then at SPASH a decrease of about 160 students there through 2040. A good portion of that decrease at SPASH is because the senior high school class sizes are just significantly larger than your lower grade levels, especially your elementary class sizes. The three SPASH class sizes are about 72 students larger each than your current elementary class sizes, so quite a bit larger. So comparing the projections to the current building capacities of your school building, so wrapping things up here, enrollment projections, I could just give you the data, but they really provide the most significance when they're compared to the building capacities of the school buildings. So over the last couple months, administrative staff underwent a pretty significant task to get the most up-to-date and most recent capacity ranges for the school buildings. That was done by looking at class size guidelines for each grade in each school, as well as looking at the number of core classrooms that were available in each school building. That's the maximum capacity. There's a certain ratio that's done to provide a working capacity. That just accommodates class size variations, classroom scheduling, and student movement. So looking at your elementary schools, we project by 2040 your elementary enrollment will be about 900 students fewer than the combined working capacity of all 9 elementary schools. So we project about 3,100 elementary school students with a working capacity just under 4,000. We do project there to be the greatest excess capacity, so excess seats at McKinley, Madison, Kennedy, and Jefferson, but we do project that capacity issue at Plover Whiting. With that elementary school exceeding its working capacity within the next decade, and then exceeding its maximum capacity in about 12 to 13, 14, 15 years or so by 2040. Looking at your junior high schools as well as your senior high school, we project grades 7 and 9 enrollment, around 700 students fewer than the combined working capacity of your 2 junior high school buildings. And then at SPASH, we project enrollment will be about 400 students fewer than the working capacity of that building. Couple more slides and then I'm done. I know you've been hearing me talk for a while. Key findings: enrollment decreases over the past decade were really driven by those fewer births, especially over the last decade in the 2010s, with that corresponding decrease in 4K and elementary school enrollment that we saw. Modest single-family home construction, especially in the city of Stevens Point, as well as the increases that we saw in open enrollment out, as well as private school enrollment. Looking over the next 10 to 15 years, we project continued enrollment decreases due to those large-scale demographic shifts, housing shifts, as well as decreasing household sizes. Large percentage of housing we project will be multiple family, especially those declining birth rates in the next decade. By 2040, we project significant excess building capacity across all 3 of your grade groups and at many district school buildings, with that one exception of Plover Whiting. So what this all means, so we recommend that the district start a long-range facilities plan to help answer a lot of these questions that are shown here on the screen. What are the implications of the enrollment projections that you just saw? the implications of significant excess building capacities, how should we address differential enrollment capacities among elementary schools, with some of your elementary schools operating at or above capacity, some operating at 50% capacity. How do your building locations, building ages, building conditions, operating costs, learning suitability of some of your schools, especially some of your older schools, how does that factor in? Your current grade groupings are a little unusual than a lot of other school districts. How should current grade groupings be reconsidered, if at all? Are there different programming opportunities, including the potential for future expansions to 4K? How should the district address reversing open enrollment out, as well as engaging the community in this long-range facility planning process in the next steps for how the district should look? One of the options is a board-appointed citizen task force. We've worked with several school districts on a board-appointed citizen task force. That task force could be comprised of anywhere from 30 to 50 members of the public of differing demographics and differing backgrounds. The board often provides that task force with a charge. The task force, over a long period of anywhere from 6 to 12 months, first gains foundational knowledge, including these enrollment projections, but also on many of those other aspects that I just talked about in those questions, like current building conditions, the district's financial conditions, school programming needs and opportunities, among many other pieces of knowledge and information. The board can establish parameters for the task force to use. These are two of many that we've worked with several school districts on, like minimizing impacts on students, providing modern learning environments, among many others. So at the end of the long-range facility planning process, often it's been phased, so there could be a phase that happens within the next few years, one that happens 5 years, one that happens in 10 years. But there's often different options that are recommended to the board to consider from such a task force. Okay, I'd be more than happy to take any comments, any questions that you all have.
Do board members have any questions?
I think I have some homework.
Yes, so that's a lot of information in a short amount of time in front of you. You've got the full document. Our intention is to both have the cabinet level, the administrative team, as well as the board just really digest this information. And we're recommending coming back to the board in probably January with some sort of a recommendation on next steps. Nick and Mark have been very responsive to any questions that we have as we are digging in this information. So if you have questions, reach out. We'll get answers to those questions. And then we'll be coming forward again, likely in January. But general questions, Nick is more than willing to answer those tonight.
I have one. How long do we retain your services for at this point? Like,
our first contract with them is final tonight. This was the last part of that contract. So if we decide that we would like their services going forward, that would be part of the recommendation that I would bring forward in January.
Is this generally consistent with what you've seen in other communities? Were there any, like, from your perspective, were there any surprises in what you saw here, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest, maybe not surprise, but something that's the most unique to the Stevens Point Area School District is, especially in some of the other larger urban districts that we've recently worked with, is you capture your suburban growth. It occurs in your district. Unlike the Wausau School District that has DC Everest that it competes with, that captures its new housing development, or La Crosse that has Onalaska and Holman. Plover is part of your school district. They do not have their own district. So I think that was probably one of the things that differentiates this district more than others, and I think plays out in the projections why we project less of a decrease here than we frankly did in some of those other communities.
Any other questions? Or Ted or Alex, any questions that you guys have?
Really detailed report. It's excellent. We have our homework cut out for us.
Thank you.
I'm also looking, oh, sorry, Ted. I was also going to say I'm looking forward to reading the full board, the full report once I get it.
And Alex, we will have that mailed to you. Nicole will put that in the mail to you tomorrow.
Thanks.
And I just point out that it's lack of questions isn't for lack of interest, that the public may not know. Most of the time when we discuss something at a meeting, we've already seen it and discussed it previous. This is the first time any of us have seen this. So we're, just like you guys digesting what we're seeing, so that's it.
Thanks, Jim.
122 pages, it's some good bedtime reading. I think it's our longest report to date.
Is it?
Yeah, it shows you how detailed, right? Also the maps, since we had 2 sets of maps for each map, basically, because we did an urban zoom, just given how geographically expansive your district was, but should be some great data there.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. Yeah,
Thank you.
nice job.
Thank you
We
very
appreciate your help.
You guys, I think I'm gonna get home and put my 4-year-old to bed, which is.
Safe travels.
Safe travels.
Thank you, Nick.
No
Thank
deer,
you.
no deer.
Thank you.
I said, hopefully there's no deer.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you.
So generally speaking, board members comfortable with the administration coming back to us in January and, you know, beginning to help us create what process, what structure, what timeline for really beginning to dive into this as a board, and as well if we make the decision to go with that community task force vision, and then really begin to be able to let the community know what that's going to look like and what we're thinking in terms of that decision making. I mean, Corey made the comment to me, and I think Chris made the comment to me. I have also not seen any of this information until tonight, so none of us have, other than administration. But there's a lot of information in here, and it's information that it will need action. I mean, you know, assuming that these projections hold, and assuming, which I don't see how they wouldn't, you know, we really need to take a look at this, and we need to make decisions that are in the best interest of the district, our kids, our taxpayers, our schools.
Will the public have access to this full report?
At some point, they will. We haven't really made a decision when we'll do that, but we'll likely create a web page that will, you know, put a lot of information on so people can go there and reference that.
At the conference Saturday, there are school districts that hold working sessions for their board members, like a single topic working sessions, and I wonder if anybody, it might be premature to suggest that, but in the next couple months, because I would read through this and I'd have tons of questions, but it might be helpful to have everybody in this setting to bounce things off of.
Good point.
Any other initial thoughts?
Seems like there's gonna be a lot of talking.
A lot of
Right.
reading.
A lot of reading.
Thank you, Nick. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Nick.
All right, we will move into our consent agenda. We have the minutes of the prior school board meeting of 10/13/2025, the minutes of the public hearing, 2025-26 budget for October 27th, 2025, the minutes of the special school board meeting of October 27th, 2025. Just a little change with the next item. It's noted on our agenda that it's the minutes of the special school board meeting of November 3rd, 2025. That actually is the meeting of the special, the 4 board members doing the interviews and making the recommendation for our Ed Services Committee meeting for tonight. And so we wanted those minutes approved because we will be acting on that. Nicole will be changing that title to reflect that it was not a special board meeting. It was a committee meeting for the Ed Services interviews. And then we have the approval of the schedule of monthly bills. And then we have the employment recommendations. So I am looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I had a question. I looked for the employment recommendations. I couldn't find them.
There weren't any this month.
Okay, so we will have Nicole call the roll, please.
Mr. Kowalski,
Yes.
Mr. Summers,
Yes.
Ms. Mercer,
Yes.
Mr. Pope,
Yes.
Mr. Liebrick,
Yes.
Ms. Erler,
Yes.
Ms. Potter Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Lepak.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. We will move into the Business Services Human Resources Committee report, and I'll turn that over to Marnie.
My portion of this is pretty limited tonight because we had 3 actions at the Business Services Committee and they are all in front of us at the board. So Mike will present on the 26-27 budget calendar guideline, on the per pupil / department allocation, and the approval of student fees.
Okay. Well, it's November, and that's when we begin the process of building our 26-27 budget. I mean, can you believe that? We just are finishing up 24-25, we're in the process of the audit. 25-26, we just had the budget hearing, and now we're starting 26-27. And the first step is for the board to adopt the budget calendar. So what you have in your packet is the calendar. It's the same, it's not the presentation up there. It's the same as what it's been in the past, the dates are changed, but it just goes month to month with everything that we're gonna be doing over the course of from November all the way to October.
Board members have any questions of Mike about that budget calendar guideline?
We're not limited to this. If we vote yes, we're not limited to what's on here, right?
You're not, I mean, there might be other things that happen,
Could
but
be
that's
changes
just
as
the
we go along.
general procedure that we follow every year. So if you look at a certain month in that calendar, you'll see the things that we're focusing on. So really our next step is to get the budget guidelines out to all the schools and departments, and they'll start building their budgets. It'll come back to us, we'll start assembling that, those are kind of the next steps.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the budget calendar guideline for the 2026-27 school year.
So moved. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed with nay? All right, then we move to the approval of per pupil and department allocations for the 2026-27 budget.
Yeah, so as I was saying to G, the next step is then getting the allocations out to the buildings and departments. So that's this process here. What we focused on this year is I set a goal to just keep the allocations at the 25-26 level for 26-27. Even though we know prices are going up, we're gonna try to hang in at the current rate. We'll have to reevaluate, once after a year and kind of see where we're at, but for 26-27, we really felt we could keep those levels flat. For the school allocations, it's a little trickier on how that works, so I put together a little slideshow to show you how we did that. So just, if you wanna go on to the next slide, Chris.
You should be able to just click through the
Oh.
clickers there.
Yeah. Nope.
It worked for Nick.
I'm pushing all the buttons now. Uh-oh, wrong button. Oh, there we go. Took a few tries. So for school allocations, it's based on a per pupil amount. That per pupil amount is based on the fall 2025 third Friday count. And we know that those numbers went down this year. So that, in a sense, then reduces everyone's budget. In fact, there are 10 out of 14 schools that see a decline if we just hold that constant. So our goal was, or my goal was to keep the total allocation at 0. And so if we just keep the per pupil rate unchanged, we do see a $24,962 less going out to schools. So I felt we had those dollars to work with to kind of soften the blow of the decline in enrollment. So let's see if I can get the next slide to pop up. Nope. There. I think I got it figured out, Chris. So the first thing I did is when I looked at Bannock and Ben Franklin, I noticed that the per pupil allocations were different than the other elementary schools for Bannock. Bannock was a little higher, and so I tried to research that and find out why that is. And what I came up with, the only thing I could find is that the field trip distances were longer, and so for some reason that got put in a little higher, but I didn't feel like that was an issue anymore, so we decided to even that out with all the other elementary schools. And then for Ben Franklin and PJ's, there was a discrepancy there because a few years back, the athletic budget was moved into the school budgets. And when that happened, PJ's was a lot smaller than Ben Franklin, so it increased PJ's per pupil allocation more than Ben Franklin's. And so I wanted to even those out as well. And when we did that, it resulted in still a decrease in total allocation, but now it's at $13,184 or 0.7%. So the next step then was to eliminate that 0.7%. So I took 0.7% and spread it out to all the schools, bringing the total allocation for all school buildings to 0, which was the goal when I started. And then I think that actually softened the blow a little bit from some of the decline in enrollment. All right, the next thing that we looked at was common school funds. So common school funds, they're embedded in the school budgets. And then every year, or at least in the last, I don't know, as long as I've been in the business office, I've seen common school fund allocations from the state rising. And they're rising, but they're embedded in the school budget. So it's hard to increase them in the school budgets without decreasing everything else. So we're gonna do that this year, but in order to do that, we also have to increase the per pupil rate to match that common school fund rate. And so I'll just kind of explain how we did it. So I took the common school fund allocation that was $63, raised that by $7 to $70. And then that's gonna get offset with the matching revenue. So even though we're increasing that per pupil amount, which you'll see on the next slide, it's really gonna amount to a 0 increase. So if we go on to the next slide, you'll actually see this. I kind of got ahead of myself, started talking about this slide. Okay, so you'll see the per pupil allocation rate did go up because of the common school funds. So it actually ended up increasing the allocation to schools by $44,448 or 2.3%. But remember, that's going to have a matching revenue. So the actual impact on the budget will remain at 0. So that was the goal, keep the allocation flat for 26-27, but adjust the per pupil so that the total dollar amount going out to the schools remains flat rather than the per pupil allocation rate. And that is the end of the slides. For
Can you
department
leave the
budgets-
slides up there though?
Oh, yeah. If I knew how. Oh, okay, there we go. So, For department budgets, we kept those flat. Those aren't based on any kind of per pupil. It just was a 0% increase for 26, 27. Questions?
Can you go back a few slides to that $24,000 savings figure?
Yeah, that's the first one.
One of the first.
Yeah,
What's
it's
that
this
little
one.
black, oh, there,
Yeah.
there. If the savings is because of fewer students, but we get money from the state based on number of students, so that money we wouldn't get anyway, would we? So you're projecting to use that to give a small increase to each school, but we're not gonna get that money, are we?
Right. So you're right. With our enrollment going down, we have fewer students in which to collect revenue from. And so that's why I'm keeping that rate constant at 0, because our prices are still going up. Even though enrollment's declining, that doesn't mean our costs are declining with it. So for me, it's actually hard knowing that our projections on price increases were 4 to 6%, and then still telling our schools, we're gonna try to keep this at 0. And that's our total allocation again. So the other way I could have did it, G, is I could have just held the per pupil rate flat. We've done that in the past. But I really felt like that was gonna be a big blow with the amount of decline that we had in fall of 25.
Well, that, and, you know, I'm just asking for clarification, because I know you're right, but that approximately 25,000 is a result of fewer students. So what I got from what you said before is you're taking that 25,000 to even things out.
To soften the blow, yep.
Yeah,
even things
soften the
out,
blow, but we don't have that.
Well, remember, this isn't based on the revenue that we get up here. This is just how we budget. So we've been budgeting school rates based on the number of pupils for years. But when we do our department budgets and things like that, that's just a flat out rate. So, but you're right, because we tie in a certain dollar amount of revenue, 13,000 something, right? Per every student that we get in the district. So when our students go down, we do lose revenue, for sure.
But you will most definitely, if approved tonight, budget this as part of your budget for 26, 27.
Yes. Mhm. I think we have, I'm not concerned about, I do feel like we have the money to do this.
Right.
It's just that I'd like to do more, to be honest, with prices going up, but I just don't feel comfortable doing that. We are doing what we can to make the money that we got in our referendum last.
Yeah, I don't understand your explanation, but I'm sure you're right. So I will put my trust in you, Mike.
School finance is difficult.
Do any other board members have questions of Mike? Okay, we are looking for 2 recommendations. The first would be I'm looking for a motion to recommend the school board approve the adoption of the building per pupil allocation as proposed at a total of $1,987,558.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I am now looking for a motion to recommend the school board approve the adoption of the department/program allocation as proposed at a total of $8,353,444.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor with aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. And then the final is the approval of 26-27 student fee schedule.
Do we have a copy of that somewhere?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jack Schreiber. I'm the finance manager here at the district. I am presenting the 26-27 fees. That is up for this next school year. So what we've done is we've given you last year's fees along with the 26-27 fee increases. Any changes were in highlight, so the main changes you will see will be the instrumental fees. We're trying to keep that across the board so it's the same for all schools. The next biggest change you will see is in the summer school fees on page 10. So those were board adopted in March, so we're just trying to update our fee schedule to make it aligned with what was board approved. We do have a fee waiver form for the parents, so if they're struggling financially or unable to pay the fees, they are able to complete the fee waiver, and then it goes through the approval process through those buildings. I can tell you that 53% of our students as of a couple weeks ago were fully paid, so that's pretty good numbers. Any questions?
Board, go ahead, Jay.
I know that this is your first year here, but I was wondering, in past years, do we have any idea at the end of the year if we're caught up on the amount, or is there an amount owed that we chuck in money for?
We are not paid up in full, which is pretty common in most schools. It's hard to get all the parents to pay. So right now, we're looking at 49% of our kiddos that still pay or still owe. And we are constantly sending, emails and statements and those things to those families.
In dollars, what does that turn out?
I can tell you right now, of our active students, we have about 290,000 unpaid.
Jackie, you were able to provide like a 3-year average at the committee meeting. Can you share
Yep,
what
so
that
the
was?
3-year average was actually based on our fee waivers. So of our fee waivers in 22-23, we waived almost 61,000. In 23-24, we waived almost 50,000. And in 24-25, we waived about 57,000. So that's an average of about 56,000 a year. And this year we have waived, or was that number? Here, this year we waived 47,000 so far, so about 67% of our fees that are waived prior years, we waived already this year, so quite a few fee waivers, and we know families are struggling, so it's definitely needed.
So waivers are different from people just not paying?
Correct. Waivers are when they request financial assistance and then it's granted by the building principals.
I'm just concerned, like, parents, I mean, there are ways to tell parents there are waivers and things like that. How easy is that information out there for parents?
It's out on our website, it's also given by the principals, and I know our staff does a great job communicating to the staff.
So in those instances, when there are fees that are unpaid, our principals, school social workers, guidance counselors, school psychologists work with those families individually to be sure that they have access to the waivers if it's a need.
I know it's, and probably other board members have heard too, is that some families get feed to death. Beginning of school, backpacks to this and that, they're gonna, spend easily into the hundreds just to get your kid to school. And it's tough, and I know we do everything we can to try to mitigate that. But when I first saw this, how many pages is this thing of fees? So it's like they're all so little, most of them are so little, but it's just, it's staggering to look at it and say, this is what we do. So I'm saying if it was 290,000 that we were short last year, and you say that's about half. So if we were to say we're paying all the fees, it'd be about 580,000 that we pay 290 anyway. So we'd have to pay like 290 more to say no fees.
Approximately. I mean, it'd
be hundreds of thousands.
It depends on how many it would be. It depends on how many students take advantage of the courses or the programs that have fees associated with them. And that varies from year to year.
Right, and I don't think this is the advanced placement classes.
Sure.
And I know,
That's assessed separately.
I know Dave Hauser will, if a family has like 3 kids out for sports, they'll try to give some kind of a break. Or if a kid comes out and decides they don't wanna do it, then they'll give them the money back. Yeah, and I'm sure we do that in all these other classes too.
Absolutely.
It's one of the complaints I hear is it cost me $500 to get my kid to school this year. And that's free in public school, you know?
We do allow people payment plan options as well, so if they can't pay it all at once, they can pay it throughout the year or when it's convenient for them.
If I were, I mean, I'm sure we're doing whatever all the other schools do too.
Yep.
But, you know, if I'm looking at, say, 300,000 to pay all these fees, and I look at some of the other things we pay for, we balance that off against it, is it something that anybody here on the board would want to consider? I know it has to come from somewhere. If you take it and pay this, somebody else isn't gonna get what they want, but I just look back at, you know, when I was in high school and carried our shovels to school and rode on the shovels. You wanted to go out for a sport, you just went out. You went to class, you didn't have to pay a dime because it's free in public education. This makes me feel sad that we have to charge these, and I know we do.
I do think we need to recognize that if a family cannot afford to pay,
Yep.
they have the ability to receive a waiver. And fees, these fees aren't charged for kids to attend regular classes, et cetera. They are related to materials, they're related to
Consumable.
they're related to consumables, and so so there is that balance. And you know, we're talking $500,000 here. I guess for me, from what you're saying, you know, if a family has run up, you know, is not paying their fees and they have a balance, at any time during the year, they can sit down with their school, with their principal, with the athletic department, and work to fill out this waiver. That then those fees are waived. We do, as a district, we wind up covering that cost. And so I would really, really strongly encourage any families who are seeing a balance and who truly can't afford to pay that amount, please reach out to your building principal, or reach out to your classroom teacher, or give a call to Corey or Chris, or Mike, and have a conversation about getting that waiver filled out so that we can help.
But it may be just me pining for the old days, but I think of the kid walking through our schools whose parents really don't care what they're doing. And they say, and sports do a good job of this, because they have people who will pay for other kids, you know, donate money. And Dave, you know, they push that a lot, because, you know, Johnny wants to take art class and his parents really don't care what he's doing. And he's got to, you know, come up with $20, and I know he doesn't really have to. He can get a waiver, but he doesn't know that because he's a 16-year-old kid and doesn't know anything. And it makes me sad that this is where public school is, that we nickel and dime people, and we have to. And I just think of that kid in the hallway that's got no resources, no parents supporting them, saying, hey, I'd like to go out for wrestling, but it costs $30 and I don't have the money.
Are the students aware of these waivers?
Students
Because I
are,
know that's a horrible feeling, like when I was young, there were things I couldn't do in high school as well, because I know my family didn't have any money.
right,
And that's a horrible feeling to have as a
Right.
student. So as long as, if they know that they have this option, it relieves some stress, and they can know that there are things that they can do that they wanna do.
Well, sports do this. Can we allow an art department to say, we'll have a fundraiser to pay our kids art fees, you know, bake sale or what, this, I wish we could pay it, but to them, for them to push, pay, you know, if your kid's gonna take art and it costs $20, give us 40, and you'll be sponsoring other kids.
We have small departments that do things like that for consumable type items in their class. Back to Jeremy's question, yeah, I would say students are aware, families are aware, but when we encourage kids to take classes of, you know, interest, elective classes, if they wanna take it, we find a way to make it happen, whether there's a fee attached to it or not, and we'll make it happen and waive that fee if they absolutely are interested in a sport or in a class.
Yeah, and I know intellectually, you're doing everything you can, but I still think of that kid walking through the hallways, doesn't know that, doesn't even know to ask. All we know is my friend said I have to pay $40 to take music, and I don't have it, and they don't have the intellectual capacity to say, well, there are waivers and there are ways I can get it.
I hear you, Jim.
We need to grab those guys.
Marty?
Is there any possibility, so like, you know, I go on Skyward every month and I go and I pay my lunch fees there, and there's a list of all of the fees, and at the bottom there are optional fees. Is there any way that we could add an optional fee that is a donation? Like if I wanna pay an extra $10 a month, I can do that and choose it, and it just shows up every month in my optional fees, and I can
Similar
click
to
on
what we
that
do
and
for
add it.
Money for Meals. We can look into that. That's a really good idea.
One other thing I'd say, G, that I actually, because I know where you're coming from, I kind of feel the same way. But one of the things that I do like about the fee is if you're in a class where, I remember back when I was in school and I don't know, maybe you're buying goggles for science and you have to buy these goggles, and some kids don't have the money to do that. And at times what I remember from when I was a kid as a teacher actually collecting money to do that and having to go up and some kid might have to go up and say, I don't have the money. With these fees, we can get the goggles, it's waived, nobody knows about it. It keeps things confidential that way, so that is kind of I think a positive with fees. That it does those supplies that we used to buy where we didn't go through the fees process, keeps things a little more confidential.
And we are not unique. Most school districts collect fees from families for consumable type items. But I hear what you're saying,
I would
Jake.
like to be
In this way, right?
What?
In this way, yeah.
in this district.
And I think, G, to your point, to go back to the 16-year-old, you know, and I think, you know, our staff make really great efforts to build relationships with kids. And I know we can't guarantee that there won't ever be that one 16-year-old who feels like they want to participate in something and knows they can't because their family doesn't have the money. But I think our staff really does an incredible job building relationships and trusting relationships that would allow them to be able to connect with a kid and say, I know you've got an interest, I know you've got a talent, there's an option here and let me help. And then we can work with those families directly. And I know you want to guarantee to say it'll never happen, and I wish I could too, but yeah,
I
our
know
staff
it's a
really
fact
does a
of
great
life,
job.
but it's one that I lament that we're at this place where we lose kids, and we know we do lose them. They, as soon as they see a money fee, so they just don't participate.
But I think along on your lines, I think it's not just the teachers that are making the difference, it's also the secretaries and it's the, you know, the athletic directors and everybody involved that's identifying those kids as social workers. They're identifying them already and already offering that to them. So I think they do a great job communicating.
Takes a village,
Agreed.
right?
Okay. I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the 2026-27 student fee schedule.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move into the services committee report. and
Thank you,
that's
Jackie.
Thanks,
G.
Jackie.
Pope. Thanks, Jackie. G. Pope.
I heard you, Meg, I'm on it. To turn to the right page. There's so many pages here. We have three things. that are here that we discussed at the Ed Services meeting. And we're gonna start the first one with the national and international field trips. Jeff is gonna do, and I heard
We have the new citizen committee member.
you do that first.
Yeah, that's on the agenda
Who put
first.
it at the bottom of the page? That's what I want to know.
They're just trying to trip you up.
Yeah, they are. Okay, all right, let's do the, sorry, Jeff. The new citizen committee member for the Ed Services Committee. Do you want me to read this?
Yep.
whole thing?
Yes.
On October 22nd, I reviewed the applications of community members interested in serving as a member of our Ed Services Committee. The applications were scored and the 3 candidates were interviewed by the full committee on Monday, November 3rd. The next step in the process allowed committee members to individually score each candidate to identify our top candidate. The Ed Services Committee recommends the approval of Miguel Campos to serve as a citizen member of the Educational Services Committee. And we need to vote on that, correct?
Motion.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve Miguel Campos as the member of the citizen member of the Educational Services Committee.
So moved.
And.
Do I have a
okay,
second?
Yeah, second.
Second.
Okay, second. Any other questions? So everybody in favor, say yes.
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 Anybody against?
Nay.
Okay, so that would be 6-2, right?
Did you catch that? Who voted how?
Mercer, Liebrick, and Potter Nelson voted no.
Okay.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
All, okay.
All right, so that brings us to the international and national field trips, which I heard that board members were gonna be chaperoning to Florence, Italy,
He's not letting it go.
to the Bordeaux region of France, and to a Taylor Swift concert in London.
That's the one Mr. Wallendorf chaperones.
Okay.
So this is an annual item that we bring forward before the board every year, and these are our national and international field trips that we have at our secondary level. Just a little bit of background for everybody. The way these processes always start is with our teachers in the classroom. Our teachers are always looking for ways that they can engage students and get them excited about learning. And for multiple content areas, one of the really cool ways we do this is through international and national field trips. That authenticity it provides our students and the connection it provides the curriculum is just absolutely phenomenal. I can speak to it because I chaperoned some of these, and it's a really cool opportunity to see kids engage. I did the Washington DC field trip with our students, and engage in that type of experience is just awesome that we're able to do it for our kids. We partner with several vendors as part of our field trips throughout the school year. What I want to do is provide kind of an outline of what we're offering in the upcoming school year. So for the 25-26 school year, PAWS is going to have one field trip. Their seniors are going to be going to Italy this year. Our junior highs have 3 field trips that they have. Our French class, so this is for 9th graders, they are able to go with high school to France. Our Spanish students are able to go this year to Costa Rica. I'm very excited about that one because my daughter's going to be one of those students going. And then at both schools, they do a field trip to the Washington DC area. Now the field trips are slightly different. The Ben Franklin group goes to Washington DC and to New York City. PJ Jacobs students go to Washington DC and then historic Virginia as part of their field trips. And then at SPASH, we have 3 field trips. Social studies is going to Italy this year. Our band and choir are going to be doing a national field trip. They're going to be going to New Orleans this year. And then our French students are going to be able to join those 9th graders as well and go to France. So those are our national and international trips. I do want board members to know that as part of this process, I actually work with Mike and we review with our insurance carrier to ensure 2 things. One, we want to make sure that our staff and students are safe. So we review contracts to ensure student safety. And then we also want to make sure that our parents and students have a secure payment method. All of our vendors pass this with flying colors. One item that was brought up during our Ed Services meeting was related to how they handle any cancellations related to the pandemic. I was able to review each of the contracts. Each of the contracts does address either pandemic, and they specifically call it out, or they put it under what's called Act of God, and they do have provisions for our students to be able to get money back. They do identify that there are some fees that are non-refundable. And they identify in the case of each one of those vendors, the opportunity for parents to be able to secure additional travel insurance if they choose to cover that difference if they would like to. Are there any questions?
Okay. We, Ted, Alex, do you guys have any questions?
You answered my question already, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's straightforward. Thank you.
All right. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the list of district-sponsored field trips as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I think Alex.
Oh, okay.
I just want to say thank you to the teachers and chaperones that go on those trips. That's a huge responsibility. It's a huge amount of planning and time. So thank you very, very much to all of those people that travel with our students.
Yes, and they do the planning. I mean, the people who are chaperoning it, it's like they're doing the planning and the hard work, the heavy lifting, and then going there. It's amazing opportunities, just amazing.
Agreed. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed with nay? Motion carries.
The second thing is the secondary course proposals, and Jeff is gonna take care of that right now.
Well, I've got some people who have joined me tonight for this one with me. So I have our principal from Ben Franklin Junior High School, Joel Bergner, who's here to help answer questions if we have any. Brett Gostomsky, who is the assistant principal at SPASH and our CTE coordinator. And then Mr. Vollendorf from SPASH. He is going to be taking care of our high school courses. So one of the things I am going to ask everybody is if we could save all the questions until the end so we can go through all of our different course proposals. I'm going to provide an overview, and like I mentioned, I'll be doing the junior high one. Then I'll be turning it over to Mr. Vollendorf for the high school one. All right. First, just a little bit of background. This is something we do every single year. It is one of my favorite things to be able to do as a teacher. I was sitting in the chairs behind you proposing a new course. But we have a great process in this district that we work through, and it starts with our classroom teachers. Our classroom teachers work within their departments to collaborate and look at what our students may be looking for or any program adjustments they feel need to be made. After they do that, they bring those course proposals to our principals. Our principals review that with the department. They review that with the programming at the building level. And if the building principals approve it, then it's brought to me. I review it with building principals, then we bring it to Ed Services and then the school board. So that's our annual process that we go through every single year. This year we've broken it down. We're going to do the junior highs first. So I have three courses that I'm going to be talking to you about that deal with two different departments. And then I'll turn it over to Mr. Vollendorf. So for the junior highs, the first one is a very straightforward one. This is a simple course rename. So previously the course was called, this is the art department, Visual Design and Digital Media. The teachers have asked to have that course renamed to Digital Art. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Parents and students, they were finding, didn't really understand what they were signing up for. And they feel like the shorter name will make it easier for parents and students to understand the class that they're signing up for. Content in the course will remain the same. So that's our first one, just a straight course rename. The second two courses are together, and that is within our Ag Science and Natural Resources Department. This is for the previous name of the class. Classes were Introduction to Ag Science 1 and Introduction to Ag Science 2. They want to rename these courses to Ag Science 8 and Ag Science 9. And with that rename, there's also a course revision that goes along with that. So that course revision has two pieces. One is targeted enrollment, which means the Ag Science 8 would be targeted, obviously, to our 8th grade students. Ag Science 9 would be targeted to our 9th grade students. And within that, they've done a review of the course sequence that they have. One of the things, their why for doing this was students would go through a repetition of learning experiences. Because of the way those courses were broken down, they're semester-long courses. Students may take both of them in 8th grade. They might take one in 8th grade, one in 9th grade. They might only take one in 9th grade. And because of that rolling enrollment between 2 grade levels, students were seeing an overlap of learning experience that was frustrating them and frustrating the teachers. So what the teachers want to do is with Ag Science 8, if you look at the Ag Science standards, they're broken down within each standard to performance indicators. So the performance indicator for a standard are beginner, or beginning, intermediate, and advanced. The Ag Science 8 will target those beginning and intermediate level performance indicators. And then at 9th grade, we'll focus in on the intermediate and advanced level. This will prevent us from having that learning overlap between the 2 courses, and the teachers identify that as being developmentally appropriate at the 2 grade levels for the 9th grade and the 8th grade. The other thing I wanted to share after we talked to the Ed Services Committee was we wanted to be able to provide a little bit of history. So why did we get here? This course area has gone through a lot of changes over the years to try to respond to our student needs. So pre-2022, we only had 1 year-long elective in Ag at all, and that was open to 8th and 9th graders, and that was the only course we had. Starting in 22-23, the department wanted to see a change, so that's where we started the Introduction to Ag Science 1 and Introduction to Ag Science 2. That was only offered to our 8th and 9th graders. Starting in the 23-24 school year, we actually introduced a brand new course, and that was our Introduction to Career and Technical Education. This is a 7th grade elective course. It is highly recommended for all of our students to take it because what happens in this year-long course, they get 1 quarter of Ag Science, they get 1 quarter of Tech Ed, 1 quarter of Family and Consumer Science, and 1 quarter of Business. So they get an exposure across the board. So the new addition that they want is looking forward. They have that entry point now at 7th grade. At 8th grade, we would have that entry point for Ag Science 8, and then at 9th grade, we'd have Ag Science 9. There would be no prerequisites for any of these courses to allow students to have that entry point at any one of those grade levels, and it's developmentally appropriate based on the standards at each one of the 3 grade levels. So those are our 3 courses at the junior high. I'll turn it over now to Mr. Vollendorf.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This evening for your consideration at SPASH, we've got 5 things that we'd like to ask you to consider moving forward for our students. The first 2 are specifically related to an opportunity, a new opportunity that we're going to be offering our students in the very near future with Mid-State Technical College, and that is to complete an associate's degree in business as part of their high school graduation. To make that happen, we need your permission to offer Intro to Business and Microsoft Office, 2 classes that have existed at SPASH before, to the 9th grade as well. Those are transcripted courses, and again, they would be a part of this program with Mid-State. The third one is an educational psychology class. This is a class that would be offered as a concurrent enrollment class with UWSP. So students who complete that class would have the opportunity, if they chose, to enroll in a UWSP credits, plural, as well. Many of you are familiar with our Education 101 class, which is designed as kind of an intro to education survey class for students who may be considering a career in education. Offering educational psychology would give those students another opportunity to further their career pathway and that exploration right at SPASH. And then our last one, which is actually 2, as many of you have noticed, we are growing in music, and I hesitate to say growing because I also want you to consider it more of as a retention issue. We currently offer 3 orchestras at PJ Jacobs, 2 orchestras at Ben Franklin, and now we have enough students enrolled to offer 2 orchestras at SPASH. Those approvals, which is offering one as a new course, simply because we want to distinguish the orchestras from each other in the same manner that they do at the junior high. So one would be called string orchestra, the other is chamber orchestra, and based on enrollments, This is something that we'll need to watch because, as I mentioned, we have a significant bubble of orchestra students specifically in that 6th through 8th grade levels right now. And we'll see what that looks like in another 2 years. But right at this time, we do have the students there for 2 orchestras.
Thank you, John. So now I'm gonna open it up for questions.
A motion or questions?
Well, first questions, if anybody has questions for the experts. And then once we get the information, then I'll be looking for a motion.
I have a question. The educational psych class you said is dual credit with UWSP?
Concurrent, so it's a little different than dual, but yes,
Do they get credit?
they would get credit.
They get university credit?
Correct.
Because I don't know what the difference between concurrent and dual is.
Concurrent means that there is an additional fee that the student would have to pay.
For,
Dual
to the
enrollment-
university.
Yeah, correct. Dual enrollment is covered by either the school or the district.
And we don't have to hire somebody to teach it. We have people on staff.
We have people on staff that.
And they
can
have
teach
the availability to teach it?
Correct.
They're not currently full-time or what?
Well, it all depends on enrollment.
All right, we talked about that.
Yeah.
I still,
On that
go ahead.
subject, just to clarify, on that fee, did you not say at services there was a decrease in the overall fee from UWSP per credit, or was I wrong on it?
The
Like
fee,
it's like a 2-credit class, and it was not at the usual UWSP credit level, is that correct? Okay.
it's an enrollment fee, so right now it's $115 per credit. And that's set by UWSP, that's it.
And also, and Liz probably knows better answers too, given what she does. That also is something that's sort of an internal requirement for education once you get to UWSP.
Yes.
It's also why I will be abstaining my vote on this one.
Any other questions? Jim?
First, I say, on this issue, obviously we did a little spirited, at services. And afterwards, I would say very much so thanks to Corey, Chris, and Jeff for taking the time to explain in far more detail afterwards. I appreciate the presentation better tonight. I think it was far more clear tonight, and it was far more clear when we talked. And I will say, I apologize, maybe a little unfair to how my perception of what you were saying before. That said, I still would say a little bit of history on that topic. My feeling on that was that those were classes that were inviting 8th graders in, and we should have allowed our kids to participate in that as 8th graders, but then also give them high school credit. I worry that this is going to mean that you'll never think about doing that for those other classes that are available where we're inviting the kids in and good enough to fill a seat to offer the class, but not good enough to actually offer them credit. I worry too that this separation means we are now separating out the total pool of available students per class on that. So now instead of 2 grades worth of students being able to choose that coursework, now it's only 8th graders and then only 9th graders, and I worry that you will, now you've got half the student pool for both of those, and I worry what that will do to enrollment. We shall see, I guess. And I guess I disagree with the change we're making because of that we never are going to now open up that idea to actually offer the high school credit. And I disagree with that, doing this for the same reason I think that the education psychology class addition is a fantastic idea. I think that's the same principle of thinking that I wish we would have for that, but apparently I'm in the significant minority on thinking we should push those kids through and give them credit that they deserve, because they're doing high school work. But I also realize that once it gets to this level, this kind of stuff never gets turned away, so.
Well, and we will, Jim, just like we do every year, as we have conversations with our teachers, we will continue to reinforce that ability to make sure what we're providing is providing opportunities for all of our students. And, you know, no different than you saw, you guys sent me home with some homework from Ed Services, and that was okay. So we worked together. I know Brent and I spent a lot of time talking to the teachers, making sure we understood exactly their why when they do this. And, you know, I always want to be able to respect board members, and we did. We brought those conversations back, and we will continue to do that and continue to challenge our teachers to look for new opportunities to expand things for our students.
I didn't see it, and then I didn't check my email today, and I should do a better job doing it on board meeting day. But I didn't see an answer to one of the because you said that there wasn't really a good way to know whether those 8th grade kids were, we can say, hey, they are even capable of doing this work. And I said, well, isn't it that the grades they achieve in that class pretty much proof of whether they're able to do the work or not? And so I didn't see any answer back on that at some point.
And we hadn't pulled that yet, Jim.
Okay. Because I was just like, if those 8th grade kids are doing terribly.
Right, then it's a pretty, and I think to your point, Jim, as with every course, and certainly these, because they're recent changes, we'll continue to monitor enrollment, and your point is not lost on me. I don't think it's lost on Jeff either. So we'll continue to keep a pulse on that, and if we feel the need to revisit this conversation, we'll certainly do that if it's warranted.
I just had one more thing, kind of to Jim's point. I also concur with him that we really should push kids as much as we can to get them high school credits and then college credits, and also pushing them so that way. I love that we're doing that with business. I love that. The more we can do to push our students, the better. But I also want to make sure that if the comment was brought up about how they were getting the same experience as an 8th grader and a 9th grader, and then they were copying some of that. My problem is always our rigor, and I've always been consistent in that. When we had the English when we had the English proposals and such, I want to make sure that we're also pushing all teachers to be as rigorous as possible. The more rigor, students can live up to that rigor, but we have to provide that to them. And I just want to make sure that that rigor is also there. And if the rigor is the expectation of a high schooler in 8th grade, then they should be receiving credit as a high schooler in 8th grade.
Thank you for that, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
So I just want to note, I really, really appreciate this opportunity for Kids Business in conjunction with MSTC. I mean, that ability to be able to earn that business associate certificate, or however you call it, during high school, I think is going to be a real opportunity for a lot of kids. The same with Ed Psych. I just really appreciate every year. I mean, the majority of what we're passing is offering kids dual enrollment, offering kids now concurrent enrollment, and I know we've kind of pushed, you to kind of explore that, and I appreciate it's coming back to us that way. And then also just that it's such exciting news about the orchestra, and that again, the opportunity that we're providing these kids, the fact that we're providing it to them at a relatively young age, that they can then continue to grow on. I think there's some great stuff in here. Yep.
Again, it's not so much an enrollment issue as it is a retention issue when you're running 5 orchestras at the junior highs. And as you get up to the high school, there's a lot more opportunities.
Yep.
There's a buffet there. But this is certainly a sign that our music teachers, like all of our teachers, are really doing some positive things and engaging students.
And I just want to do a big shout out, Meg, to Brent. A lot of the work, he was working really closely with me to coordinate with UWSP for our Ed Psych course. Also the work with Midstate. I don't know how many meetings he has had over the course of the past 2 months getting this up and ready. They're going to be at our junior highs, informing parents about this tomorrow or on Thursday night. So we've got some great people all around us.
I just wanted to ask about when we usually get new courses or we're expanding like this. In the past, haven't we got like a monetary estimate or a example of materials needed and stuff? Cause I remember getting a more detailed list. And I think that's important, because if we propose a new course, we want it to be thought out by the person proposing it, that they go through a certain protocol, but this is all I see here.
There's, the courses are included, G, with an outline with the board update.
Oh, in the back?
There's a lot of attachments.
Sorry, I didn't look there.
Yep.
The Ed Services one, G, just to your point, so this group is aware, there is a text that is purchased with that, and we're gonna be working within Ed Services. What we're gonna be doing is purchasing a set of 30 for students to be able to keep in the classroom.
I mean, Ed
So-
Psych?
Ed Psych, excuse me, thank you. And we'll have that available to students. So there will not be a course fee associated with that unless the student elects to take it for UWSP credit.
You know, I had a conversation, and this was last year, with a person in the music department in our district, and they were concerned because we were expanding, you know, good, but they were worried about having enough people to fill the positions. Because if we add, you know, another orchestra or something like that, we gotta have somebody there. And this person had told me that he'd worked with you, Jeff, in getting another person half-time to fill that position, if my memory is correct. So when I see new expanding or new courses, I'm always wondering who's gonna teach it. And if we're gonna hire new people, we have to approve it. But I know I talked to, I think you or Jeff, and you said, well, it depends on what's offered. And it seems to me like if we approve it, we better have somebody ready to teach it, instead of like, well, if they have one less 10th, they might have one less 10th on their schedule, we'll fill it with this or something. It just seems kind of random or hit or miss. Like, I mean, I want to know that we've got a person there.
Yeah, and we have 2 orchestras we ended up having to run at Spash because of enrollment right now, and we're able to do that with our existing enrollment. So I'm confident for next year that we will be able to sustain that.
So what you're approving tonight is giving us the ability to put this in our course guide so that students know that it is available. Then they'll sign up and do enrollments. And if we can't staff it with our current staff, then we'll be back at the board asking for your approval to increase staff.
Well, that's what this person was saying, that it was wonderful that you found somebody, but they were leaving at semester, or there wasn't, they didn't have a contract for the next semester, and the person I was talking to was worried about that. And I don't know whatever happened.
It was a temporary position, G, that we had for a semester, right? With the idea that we would have the ability and the flexibility within our FTE at the conclusion of that semester to not need that temporary position the following year, which is the year we're currently in.
Any other questions? All right, I am looking for a motion to approve the proposed 2026-27 secondary course updates and revisions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to add thank you for all of the work that is involved in this. Because I am one of 3 faculty who teach Ed Psych over at UWSP, I will be stepping back from voting on this just because, but I do appreciate the work that's gone into all of the other proposals.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks. Thank you, John and Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
So all those in favor with aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? And 1 abstention. All right, we will move into.
Oh, we have one more. Yeah, the SPASH safety and security update.
That's not for action, but that was discussed.
But it's right here on the agenda. Number C, letter C, SPASH security.
No.
Yeah, it's right.
Oh, no, that's just, is that from Ed Service?
I think you might be on the committee agenda.
I think you're on the committee agenda.
Yep. Because you're right, that was letter C on the committee agenda.
Yeah, that was letter C on the committee agenda.
Yep.
Yep.
So we're not gonna discuss that tonight.
No, not beyond what Corey shared at the start in her comments regarding communication from SPASH.
My fault, we're done.
Yep, no worries.
Well, we're not quite done. Now we have to move
Close.
into open enrollment campaign presentation with Sarah.
Hello again. All right, let's talk about enrollment strategies on the heels of the Roffers report.
No goal?
I don't know, it could be me, it's usually me.
Okay.
That way, I'm okay with that.
All right.
All right, so let's chat a little bit about why enrollment matters now. I think coming off of what we all just heard, relative to the fewer young families kind of in our community and those declining birth rates, not just here but statewide. We certainly know that every student that we're able to have enrolled in our system matters more than ever. We're also seeing that boundary outflow to neighboring districts, specifically to Tomorrow River School District and to Almond Bancroft. And I know that's been a concern of the board, so wanted to address that as well when we take a look at some of our research that we'll go over. The biggest thing I wanted to point out too is just that budget impact that has and our ability to maintain sort of what we are currently offering to students. Chris, you want to, I think I did that by myself. Excellent, all right.
I make a motion, we get a better clicker.
So taking a look at the research, our group went over our open enrollment data from the last 3 to 5 years, really looking for those trends. And what we have seen, and I know what the board has seen as well, is really looking at what we have coming in for students and what we have going out for students. And we have a significantly higher amount of students going out than we have coming in. So we continue to see that imbalance there grow. And what we really wanted to look at was seeing if we could identify some reasons that families are making those decisions to leave, and if there are things that we can address through some enrollment strategies to reverse what's happening there, to really stabilize enrollment specifically in those boundary areas. We also used the information that came in from the MD Roffers Community Change and Projection Report, so that report that you received this evening. To really see if there are patterns there that can help us when we look at those open enrollment in and out, as well as just enrollment projections overall. And then when we think of those perceptions that we see as well, right, we're doing those annual surveys, but we also did some really targeted surveys for folks who have left the district in the last 3 years, who have decided to open enroll their students, and for those who have decided to open enroll in. So we got some good feedback from folks on why they're making those choices. We had pretty good response, higher than I thought. We had 50 people complete the open enrollment out information and about 25 complete the open enrollment in. So not a lot, but like enough that I feel really confident in the information that we were able to get from those. So looking at what we saw, when we look specifically at sort of what we're seeing and coupling that with information from those surveys, the biggest thing we're seeing is an awareness gap of families not engaging early enough to see themselves as part of our district. So what I was expecting to see specifically from those surveys were families telling us, this program didn't work for me, I was really interested in something that you just didn't offer, or I had a really bad experience and wanted to leave. And what we actually heard back was that folks never enrolled in our district to begin with, mostly because of this perception of district and schools being too big. So when we think about that, they don't even have an opportunity to come in and experience programming or experience what school is like here based on really that, what I think is a large awareness gap. So that was, I think, a really important key finding for us. And then our retention strength, we noticed that once folks were enrolled, they're likely to stay through graduation. So we aren't seeing people kind of coming in and out, they're making a decision and they're staying with that decision. We see those fewer young families and declining birth rates, aging population and slow housing growth, which means growth is really coming from engagement and retention, not new housing. So there is no specific housing that's gonna bring in a lot of new growth. It's really making sure that we're doing a good job of engaging and talking to the folks that are here. And then that leads us to early learning really being our best target demographic or best place for us to do I think a more intentional job of engaging with those families. Our strategic advantages, we are able to offer more opportunities because of our size. So when we think about what some folks may perceive to be something that is a negative, it really does offer us a lot of opportunity for students that schools that are smaller just aren't able to scale in that way. So we do have a lot of opportunities. We're committed to creating exceptional student experiences. We hear that every month when we're here, right, from our staff and our teachers, and we really are dedicated here, I think, to how students are learning and growing. And then we're strengthened by the support of our community. I don't think anyone could deny how much our community supports us. They feel so grateful just every time. It's just fantastic. And then we do it all in a student-centered way that feels like home. So thinking of those kind of key insights and then our strategic advantages, I'm recommending that we move forward with a Big Opportunities Hometown Connections campaign that really focuses on those big opportunities that we offer, but highlighting the fact that we are still a very connected school district. You do not get lost here. Kids don't get swallowed up at SPASH, right? It's opportunities, and I really want to be able to highlight that, starting with brand awareness. So that's, when we think brand awareness, that's that general storytelling, right? So attacking kind of that awareness gap of what it's really like to be at school in the Stevens Point Area Public School District. Focusing really specifically at that Cubs Club launch and that 4K recruitment. You may remember about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, we launched something called Cubs Club, where we're really trying to target that birth to 4. We had not a lot of signups. We had an intern leave, and that kind of just fell by the wayside. So we're proposing like a proper launch of Cubs Club, also making sure that we're bringing in those experts in that birth to 4 developmental area, right? So I can do all the communication for it. We can talk about how great it is, but we want to do events, and people don't want to come talk to the communications people at events, right? They want the experts in development. So making sure we're offering that to parents as well. 4K recruitment will be a big piece of that, boundary family engagement, and then making sure we're continuing to include some of those specialty programs we have, like pods, that offers that hands-on, smaller based learning, and project search as well. Tactics that we would be looking at implementing, we'd really be looking at those foundational pieces, so campaign toolkits, that Cubs Club proper launch, materials for that, targeting those campaign messages around some of those key insights that we found, making sure schools know what's happening, and then press and partner with outreach plans, and then making sure that we are measuring our success, right? So keeping track of that campaign performance, listening to that feedback we're getting, seeing what kind of traction we're getting online, and then updating our content kind of in that continual cycle. More specifically, looking at those phases, we'd look December to really set that foundation, do our creative build, Cubs Club refresh, figure out how that gets relaunched. Phase 2 is really that launch. And then phase 3, moving into engagement retention, and we align that to our DPI open enrollment window as well. Looking at what success we'd be looking for, overall awareness and engagement, we'd be able to measure that through web visits to landing pages, really specific for 4K, Cubs Club, pods, general open enrollment information. Looking at enrollment outcomes, so do we see an increase in applications? Do we see an increase in 4K enrollment? And then looking at our retention indicators, so are we retaining students specifically from that 4K into kindergarten? Our boundary area enrollment stability, we'd like to see that at least stabilize, if not reverse. And then making sure we have sustainable enrollment in pods and project search programming. What I really want to highlight is this is not a marketing campaign. This is about connection and really focusing on awareness, belonging, and engagement. So not just that one way kind of push of information about all of the great things we offer, because we do offer a lot of great things, but really helping people to connect and feel like part of the district so that they are able to access that information and those programs that we have. So really focusing on trust, building relationships, and making sure that families know what is here and what we offer. I'm happy to take questions if there are any. Yeah.
But like in the consultant meeting we had earlier, they had obviously projections.
Yep.
Do you have any projections of what you expect to possibly gain?
Yeah, my goal would be 2 to 3% lift in 4K enrollment this year. And then I'd like to see at least 2 recaptures for open enrollment out, so bringing back 2 of those families at least. We don't anticipate this being a very expensive endeavor because we have internal capacity. So we don't have to hire a firm, like we've done all the research, so we're able to just kind of roll it out without a lot of expense to the district. Yeah,
You said that you had an intern to do that part at first and then they just went away, so we dropped that. But we'll have to hire somebody to do that.
We will not have to hire someone to do that. So communications right now has myself and the communications specialist. So between the 2 of us, we're able to handle the communications piece. What we may need to consider is who and how that expert piece of it. So somebody who has that child development experience, but that's not anywhere near like full-time, half-time. It's not a full-time job. So that's something that we would likely be looking to have somebody pick up either within their regular duties, or I could see asking it like a temporary, because really all I need is somebody who can help facilitate like what the information is that should be pushed, right? So making sure that that research is accurate, that the resources are accurate, and then assistance running some of those events. And we already do some of those events, we just haven't branded them in this way. Like Child Find would be a good example of that.
It's a good example.
I can appreciate that you attempted to at least get input and get the surveys out there. And maybe that's just me, I see that there's just shy of 500 kids or families?
In
Is it
4K?
kids? No, that have
Open
left
enrolled
it
out.
open
Oh.
enrolled out.
Yeah.
And we got 50 responses, that's maybe 10%.
Yeah.
I don't know, I see that as, okay, that's 400 plus that we have no idea, other than you're extrapolating just off that little data set. I say that too, I know our 2 biggest ones are Auburndale and Amherst. And I just happened to, I asked a coworker who's intimately involved in that district and said, do you have any inclination of, 1, why, or 2, what are the kids doing that come from our district to you? And he goes, he didn't have the data, exact numbers, but he said the overwhelming majority of them are going to that charter school out at Sunset Lake. And we don't have anything that really compares to that style.
Correct.
And so, I guess do we have any sort of inkling in this enrollment campaign to consider, because if that's where the bulk of the kids are going, how do you address that issue at all? And how do you convince someone that this is the place they should be when we don't offer that style? Probably the closest we have to some of the things we do maybe at pods.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
Some of the River Academy experiences at the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's different grades. The
Correct,
thing out
yeah.
at Sunset is K through
Elementary.
8. Yeah.
And they have 1 teacher per grade that follows all the kids,
All the way
starting at the
through.
beginning all the way through.
That's a very unique
It
program.
is,
Yeah.
and I guess but if that's the reason we're losing them, if that's the primary reason, how do we address that. I'm just.
I think we've got to do a better job of telling the story of what PODS is. Because I think that's the school that probably most closely aligns with Tomorrow River, but also some of those unique one-off programs in our junior highs and our high school. We can just share more information about that to hopefully get them engaged. And like Sarah had indicated, it's really getting those 4-year-olds to step foot in our building right from the start, because they don't choose to come here right away. And why is that? And how do we get them in our buildings before they even are ready to start 4K to see exactly what the experience may or may not be like?
PODS doesn't do that.
Elementary schools.
I know, but we said PODS is one of our recruiting tools, but PODS doesn't do it
But
for
PODS aligns most closely with Tomorrow River.
That charter
With
school
their
concept.
charter school is what.
Right.
Yeah, that charter school concept, that kind of Waldorf approach.
Have you ever been there?
I have
Been
not.
there. I have.
It's very different, and I say it's nothing like PODS.
But PODS is our most closely aligned school. So it will be interesting, you know, we are going to be piloting, well, we already have a 4K that is out in the area of Auburndale
Yep.
and providing childcare. It'll be interesting to see how that ability to have younger kids be able to come into our building and meet us and get to know us, how that will help. And then again, as we bring those others on, the same thing. It's been a long time since I had little kids, but I do have very vivid memories of those times. They're very busy times. And so, you know, I think it's the issue that we have with everything, which is we can communicate and communicate and communicate, but we can't make people read. And we can't make people hear or see unless they're actively trying to access that. I mean, I know for me, it was all about talking to people, other young families in the community. And I think that probably still happens. And so, you know, I don't know if we have opportunities to have like a parent ambassador program with some of our young families who know that new people are coming into their neighborhoods, and maybe that ability to reach out to some of the book groups, or maybe have book groups in our schools during the summer, you know, for 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, or little music presentations. I mean, for me, part of it is, are there things that we could be doing as a district, as you say, you know, if you're a family, you're just coming into this, your family, you're coming into the community, you've never lived here. You're probably not gonna go into a school building, you know, until your first child's, whatever, 4 years old. And then once you make that choice for your first child, then that's where the second one's going and the third one's going. So I guess I encourage us to ponder if there's some things that we can do beyond the direct communication kind of from us, and see if there's a way that we can really encourage our parents who tell us survey after survey how excited they are about, especially our grade schools. You know, how we might be able to, with the PTOs maybe, offer some creative fun stuff for young families to introduce them to us. Absolutely.
I think the charter school in Tomorrow River is very grounded in environmental education. So, you know, I mean, we do have the Boston School Forest. So as this enrollment campaign, or as this enrollment campaign kind of evolves, we can certainly be creative about how we capitalize on that more as we think about expanding 4K opportunities. You know, that curriculum is much more flexible at that grade level because we're not bound to all of the required state standards for ELA, for math. So can we think about how we incorporate some environmental ed opportunities for our earliest learners? And might that mirror more closely what they offer in Tomorrow River? So I think those are all conversations that we can have in terms of how we capture that audience that we're kind of trying to draw in, particularly in that early childhood arena. Yeah, I think there's some good opportunity there.
And I don't think it's going to be focus of this, but I've said before, and it kind of came up tangentially earlier with the fee schedules, but our And but we celebrated quite a bit at the beginning, and you even mentioned it in our communication report, that how important the extracurriculars and particularly some of the athletics are to, it's not legal to recruit, but that said, there are kids who come here early in order to get around the WIA rule. And I don't know the data on what happened with our newest high school team, but I would imagine at least some of those kids from the other schools transferred in. I know that there were some kids that have transferred in for multiple sports here, and it happens. Because they're at a school that maybe their team is tanking. And they realize, hey, there's an opportunity to have success, so they come here. And I mean, some of the opposite happens. I know kids that have gone to Amherst just to play football.
Right.
Because they don't get, big school, they don't get that, they get cut for whatever, and some of those programs we don't cut, but I think just keeping that eye on making sure we.
Talk about that too, yep,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Those are good points, Jim.
So I don't usually wordsmith, but
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
okay, I guess I do. So I'm gonna hear, if what we're hearing is people are afraid to come to us because we're big, I don't know if we should be using big as the lead word in our campaign for big opportunities hometown. I mean, maybe there's some way, because I think we're really trying to encourage people to realize that we have small classrooms, we have, small units, we have, we may be a big district, but we're a lot of buildings. And each of them are their own little community, and really special in all their own ways. So I guess I just would throw that out, so.
Well, the other thing, I talked to Crystal Armstrong at
No, go ahead.
at Kennedy. She's so ready to do this. I mean, she's all over it. So I'm sure you thought about this, that there are people at the sites that are gonna be our first ambassadors, and they tend to know the area. And, I mean, they really wanna tackle this.
Absolutely.
I just said, when you say the wordsmith, and you said that, it didn't occur to me until I looked at it again, I went, that's pretty similar to my works motto.
Yeah.
Where we say world-class treatment, hometown care, big opportunity, hometown
Right.
Yeah.
connection.
Right.
I'm not accusing.
Not on the camera, Jim.
I really
Not on
like,
the camera.
I really
I
liked
never
how.
did, I'm not, I just.
Yeah. I
It
really
looks
liked how
somewhat familiar.
Sarah talked about it's not a marketing campaign, it's really about strategies and engaging families. So it's gonna be different, and it's gonna be making those connections early.
Some good work.
Nice job, Sarah, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, we've got our budget evaluation process.
Man, it's tough to be last. I know. I'll try to make this as exciting as I can. Wanted to provide an update on budget and program eval for this month. I want to give an update on cumulative positions reviewed. At this point, we have reviewed a total of 530 positions. 498 of those we have filled as is. We currently have 4 positions that are frozen. You'll notice that's up 2 from last month when I reported, or in September when I reported, and positions eliminated is a total of 28. I want to remind everyone here in this room and those who might be tuning in that that 28 is cumulative since we started the budget and program review process. So sometimes I think even I look at that number and I think we have not got 28 positions since September. So that is since we started the process about 2 years ago now. The programs that we've identified for additional analysis, again, we're working through athletics. That work continues to be ongoing. World language is one that I'll provide you with an update on, as well as co-curriculars tonight. There's been some additional work that's happened in those 2 areas. And then ELA and math, strategically placed at the end of this short list because we realize that those will take an incredible amount of time because those are just large disciplines to review. In addition to these that we've identified, we're also looking at beginning the review process for reading and our reading teaching staff, as well as our at-risk programming. So those would be the next 2 that we would add to the short list as we make our way through. The ongoing athletic program review, as you'll recall, we have completed the market analysis of stipends and positions. That was done collaboratively with Beth Bakanovich and our Human Resources Department. That did result in the addition of approximately $64,000 in athletic stipends that the board approved. And that was for both this year and that extends beyond this year as well. So not all program review results in a reduction. So I want to be sure that we point that out. We're looking for efficiencies, but we also sometimes find places where we need to enhance programming. And that certainly is some of the update that I'll share with you tonight as well. We're examining opportunities for reducing transportation costs through combined scheduling potentially, shared busing, and adjusting where we engage in regional play. Those are all conversations that we haven't necessarily had to have before, but with increasing costs and a budget that continues to grow, we know that this is something that these are conversations we need to have. And we're currently also benchmarking the number of JV teams that we're running for sports with high levels of participation. That's currently boys basketball and girls volleyball. So we have, at the junior high in particular, had a philosophy in our district of give all kids the opportunity to play. Sometimes we establish multiple JV teams, 1, 2, 3 of them. That does require an additional coach. It requires busing to those competitions. It also requires staffing those competitions with referees, with event workers. So all of those are costs that add. What we have noticed also is that sometimes that third JV team that gets added doesn't necessarily have the level of participation at the end of the season that it did at the start of the season. So this is a bit of a philosophical discussion, but we continue to have those in an effort to find those efficiencies where possible. I wanted to give an update on world language. We have met with the group of instructional leaders from this department recently, back on October 24th. Jeff and John met with this team. What we talked about with that group was the current retention rates across years. So what we see in our world language courses, that's Spanish, French, and German, is we see high rates of participation in Spanish 1, in French 1, in Spanish 2, in French 2, and then by the time we get to the higher levels of those courses, we see really small numbers. So that's prompted us to look at some of our peer districts in terms of what number of courses they have in their course sequence for world language. So the world language department, we currently have 6 courses in both Spanish and French. So we're looking at reducing that to 5. In other words, the numbers that we currently have in Spanish and French, they might exceed the student demand and instructional need compared to other peer districts. So rather than having a 6-course sequence, we would be looking at having a 5-course sequence in those 2 world languages. It already exists that way in German, so that would not require an adjustment there. And this team would also like to consider implementing the Global Scholars Program in the spirit of program enhancement. That was a bit new for us, and I had to make myself a little bit smarter about the Global Scholars Program, but we're kind of mirroring this to what currently exists in the DC Everest School District as well as the Wisconsin Rapids School District. So employees and universities are currently looking for students who are globally literate, and in response, the DPI has created a new opportunity for students called the Global Education Achievement Certificate that can be earned as part of participation in world language courses. To earn this distinction, students have to complete the following 4 requirements during their 4 years of high school. So that's in grades 9 through 12. So in an effort to incentivize retention and an effort to interrupt some of that pattern that we see with high enrollment early on and then kind of declining as you advance through the levels, this is one enhancement that our world language instructional leaders would like to explore. And we're hopeful that we could even have the opportunity to stand this up within our world language program as soon as next fall for the academic year. But we certainly see this as a positive. In terms of co-curricular programming, Beth and I have had some initial conversations about what's coming in this particular arena. If I look at co-curricular programming that we've reviewed, we've got more than 40 active clubs across our junior high and our high school levels. There's a wide variation of stipends and enrollment and activity in all of those clubs. Several of the clubs that we gathered initial data on were not active. In other words, they didn't have student participation for the last several years. So part of what we'll do in this review will be to clean that up Clearly, we're not paying stipends if there's no enrollment in those clubs, but we do want to make decisions about whether or not we continue to make a club available, if indeed we haven't had any enrollment or interest over the last several years. Some clubs also are duplicated across schools, so example would be the FACS, FCCLA, FFA, forensics, and those have varying degrees of coordination across both the junior high and high school level. So rather than paying a stipend to a junior high advisor to lead those those co-curriculars, could we combine that so there could be combined learning between high school and junior high? And might that be an efficiency that we find? So those are all opportunities that we're going to explore as we review the co-curricular programming. In terms of next steps and deliverables, we're going to do a participation audit, so verify current activity levels, membership, and meeting frequency for those co-curricular clubs. We're going to look at funding alignment and identify inactive or low enrollment clubs that are currently receiving a stipend and consider reallocation to higher impact programs. And then also a collaboration plan, so develop opportunities for district-wide co-curricular alignment across levels, rather than having those separate or siloed clubs at different levels. And then one of the intended outcomes is to ensure that there's equitable access for students and advisor support across co-curricular programs while streamlining our resources. That is an update on the work that's currently happening in budget and program review. Again, this is something that we certainly are building as we've gone through, and we continue to learn a lot about where certain efficiencies lie, but all good work, and I appreciate all of the collaboration that happens from all of the people in this room when I come asking for more data, because I'm asking for a lot, and I appreciate everyone's cooperation in getting me those numbers when I reach out. So I'm looking at both Beth and Mike right now. But I'm happy to entertain questions based on that update if there are any.
I have two things. One, I share your concern a little bit on the third level of JV in particular. My kid participated in that. I'm like, well, I'm happy you had that opportunity. On the other hand, I got the idea of the cost there. It almost felt like sometimes those kids, not from a school perspective, but from a team perspective, were created as a third team just to help fundraise for the varsity. Yeah, I said that out loud. But the other thing was, I did notice that it made more sense when they went to say, you know, DC Everest and 5 other teams were there and they played a bunch of games in one day.
Yep.
It didn't make much sense when they made a 2+ hour trip all the way to Eau Claire Memorial and played 2 games that lasted a total of 30 minutes. And, you know, a totally separate bus, and it's like, wow, that was an awful lot of expense for I was thinking at the time, like, that's a lot of expense for the district for long drive for a short run, as they say. And I guess that would be one thing I would look at is, yeah, if you're gonna have it, encourage the multi-team events more than the long drive for one games. And then when you say the foreign language issue, is there opportunity to still offer advanced classwork via OLC as a substance? Like, okay, I get it, we don't have if we don't have enough kids to offer the class to, you know, if we only got 3 kids that wanna take that extra level, but is it still available for advancement for them? Okay, it will be.
Mhm. Well, those are the
Potential
points,
things.
yeah, and potentially.
Any other questions?
Ted or Alex?
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're moving into our future meeting dates and times, and our next meeting will be the December 8th regular board meeting. So I am,
We just, based on that idea, a year ago, we met again in either November or December. We had another extra retreat type style event where we met again to discuss particularly the stuff that's gonna be released tomorrow.
Yep. So what we decided to do this year was just include that in our December board meeting. So we'll just do that in a public setting.
Okay.
Yep.
and then the jury's out as, you know, G raised, you know, maybe we wind up with
Work session.
a work session with respect to this study that we're
Alone, and that'd be
seeing.
the only
Yeah.
Right,
agenda item.
that-
I would
but that would
support
be
that.
sometime into like, February,
Work session for
March,
this.
right.
The numbers that we'll be looking at next December, I wanted the chance to really look at those in a separate session, but I guess we're not gonna.
The what?
Our scores and things like that.
No, that's gonna happen in a public open meeting
Yeah, I
in
know.
December.
Yeah.
We'll have it at the December meeting.
But they get released.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yep, the public release of the report cards is tomorrow.
All right, I guess I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. So moved. All right, second, all right. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
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 Okay, we're adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.